In the graduate level 3, we are focusing on the defenses against weapon attacks. When we talk about the defense against knife attacks and stick attacks, here the main thing is to defend against attacker who is coming from different directions. Practically, we are using variations on the basic defenses, using the main principles to deal with variations of the problems. The goal is, and that is what we really teach, is how to solve new problems under stress. By saying new problems, I mean variations of the problems. The attacker is in different instances, different angles, different directions, different type of attackers, naturally. We are preparing you, the Kmg G3 trainee, to deal with all sorts of problems coming in adverse conditions in different types of situations, using family of solutions to deal with family of problems. That's the idea. In order to be good, one has to practice. You have to invest time in doing. Punch the card, work, do the things, do the job. Please remember, it's your duty. Meaning, if something will happen, nobody will save you. That's the assumption. By focusing, by doing, you are gaining the powers, you gain the capabilities, you are gaining the abilities, you are becoming better. And with this, mentally, you are more prepared to deal with all conflicts of life.
Take down using the wrist leverage, the Cavalier. Here's an application taking down the knife attacker after the counterattacks. The wrist leverage took the attacker down, and now you are capable to deliver more counterattacks and efficiently disarm the attacker. Stepping backwards while taking the attackers down using the wrist leverage. As you step back, with a parallel hand, you're grabbing the attacker's wrist area. With the other hand, the diagonal one, you grab his fist. Step diagonally backwards, bending the wrist, and then pivoting it, sending the palm towards the ground, lifting your elbow, and taking the opponent down. You are applying a strong pull that is taking the opponent off balance. Naturally, the wrist lock is creating certain level of pain. The beginning is with the bend of the wrist, and then twisting of the wrist. So you are working on a three-dimension wrist leverage. Your heel of the hand is pressing against the back of the hand of the opponent. Like this, you can have an efficient and strong bend of his wrist. Keeping constantly a pressure of 90 degrees of a straight angle with your hand and forearm on the opponent's back of the hand and palm creates a strong pressure, eventually slamming the opponent towards the ground. With the hand that you grab the opponent's forearm, you must not disturb the bending of the wrist. Meaning, many times, if the grab is relatively high on the wrist, your index finger will not be grabbing, but will be loose. So you apply a grab with the thumb and the rest of the three fingers. The moment the attacker is slammed to the ground, straighten yourself with a small circular action with your hands. This forces the opponent's body to make a bit of a circle on the ground, aligning him in a straight line, lying in front of you. The wrist levers the Cavalier while advancing forward. The main use of it is if you try to do the first wrist leverage, pulling and taking down the opponent, he resisted and pulled. In this case, change your direction and move diagonally forward to take him down towards his back. Practically, as a response to the opponent's pull, you are advancing strongly forward while applying a wrist leverage that pushes the opponent backwards and slams him on his back. This leverage is a two-dimensional leverage, meaning just bending the wrist. However, while you bend the wrist, you are pushing it by the side of the opponent's shoulder, keeping his elbow low, and directing the pressure towards the ground while advancing strongly by the side of the opponent. Be careful so you do not find yourself in front of the opponent's legs. Go by his side. The basic of this wrist leverage is the same as before, meaning with the hand in front, you grab the wrist, with the cross hand, with the diagonal one, meaning right grabs the right, you are bending strongly his wrist, keeping a firm grip and pressing 90 degrees towards the bent palm all the time. For this you have to lift your elbow and press directly at a straight angle, keeping the 90 degrees between your forearm and the opponent's back of the hand. Here you can see this technique as a response to the opponent's resistance or pull. However, generally speaking, and many times you can apply this lock just as it is, meaning starting with pushing the opponent's hand and wrist while bending it towards the side of his shoulder and down towards the ground. The wrist leverage and a takedown using the elbow strike. As you pull the opponent's hand and move diagonally backwards, you strike with the elbow and the area of the forearm which is close to it on the attacker's back of the hand, and with continuous pressure directed towards the ground, you apply this wrist leverage and take him down. As before, you grab the wrist area and the forearm of the opponent. The grip itself should not be disturbing the bend of the wrist, meaning many times your index finger should be loose. The strike with the part below the elbow is hitting the opponent's back of the hand in 90 degrees. Following with continuous pressure, you are directing this pressure towards the ground, keeping bending and twisting the opponent's wrist. This technique is mainly used when you cannot grab the opponent's wrist, meaning your hand is either busy grabbing something, or maybe your palms and fingers are injured. A technique like this will disarm the opponent from what he holds in his hand, meaning the strike and the pressure will open the opponent's palm. Whatever he has in his hand will be dropped. Pay attention that the strike and the pressure that you apply on the opponent's back of the hand keeps an angle of 90 degrees with it, and it doesn't slide off. This mechanism of wrist leverage is a pull-push mechanism, meaning with the hand that you grab his wrist and forearm area, you are pulling, while with the elbow and forearm, you are striking and pushing. Practically, it has the same effect as the first wrist leverage, the first cavalier. Pay attention that the strike creates the first bend, and the constant pressure afterwards is keeping the wrist bent, pressed, and it is turning it in a manner that the pressure is directed eventually towards the ground. So the whole infrastructure of the wrist lock is taking the opponent down. In the end, you should straighten your back, make a small circle with your hand so the opponent will be brought in a straight line in front of you and between your legs. A wrist leverage with an elbow strike moving forward. Whether the opponent pulled his hand or you decided to move diagonally forward, it is possible to apply this wrist leverage also with an elbow strike, the forearm pressure on the opponent's back of the hand. As done with the palm grips, here too we are bending the wrist of the opponent, keeping strong pressure on it, sending the wrist area, the palm area of the opponent by the side of his shoulder, keeping his elbow low and pressing it, meaning his whole arm, towards the ground. This sort of lock that is practically applied on the wrist as well as on the elbow and the shoulder is putting and slamming the opponent towards the ground. As you advance forward, be careful to pass by the side of the opponent so your groin area will not be in front of his kick, in front of his legs. Pay attention that you keep the same principles as before, meaning the way you grab the opponent's forearm, the wrist, what is your index finger is doing, the pressure of 90 degrees on the opponent's back of the hand, constantly bending and pressing the wrist of the opponent. Releasing yourself, escaping different dangerous grabs, starting from a sitting position. There are different ways of getting up. The first one that we show here is while bursting forward. Starting from a relaxed and casual sitting on a chair, burst forward in order to meet an opponent in an aggressive manner heads on. Abruptly, you should contract abdominal muscles, send your body forward while sending your legs, your feet backwards. Plant both your feet behind you and push forward and upwards. The moment you set forward and send your feet backwards, both of the feet planted to the ground, the center of balance is in front of your base, in front of your legs. So pushing forward will create sort of an explosive motion, sort of a burst forward. Like this, you can meet the opponent early, you can defend, counterattack, or just get up and move in sort of a sprint. While you do this, keep your chin a bit down and your palms, your hands, are already in a ready position to deal with what is coming. Second way of getting up from a chair is just getting upwards, meaning from a casual position, contract abdominal muscles, send one leg backwards to the side, diagonally backwards, and one diagonally forward, press and get up, sort of a squat or a lunge with one leg forward, one leg backwards. The two legs, like a couple of pillars, are taking the center of gravity, your body, on them. Your torso is straight and you come up into a fighting position, similar to the general outlet stance. Third way of getting up is getting up while turning, moving backwards. From a casual sitting position, start with contracting abdominal muscles, lifting the torso a bit, sending one leg slightly diagonally forward, and the other one slightly diagonally backwards while turning it. Turning the body, the foot, the knee, all is directed in a pivoting action towards the rear. As you move up, your balance is as such that you are able to advance towards the rear. Keep your hands in a ready position to be able to defend, to attack, to counterattack, and to release, meaning dealing appropriately with whatever problem you are facing. Getting up and retreating to lift and use the chair. In order to be able to use the chair soon and efficiently, you need to get up and stay close to the chair. So one leg is directed a bit forward, the other one a bit backwards. Like this you get up efficiently, meaning the whole torso is being sent upwards. As soon as possible, bring one leg between the other and the chair. Practically, it is a step backwards. Now you are positioned by the side or behind the chair. You can lift it by the seat in the back of it and use it as needed for defenses, for attacks, for preparation, for other action. As you get up, keep eye contact with the opponent. As you move behind the chair, be sure that the distance between you and the opponent is kept correctly, meaning you must operate in the correct timing, not to let the opponent foil your action and use the chair against you. While in a chair, falling backwards. It may be because of an impact from the front. It can be because of push or a pull, either from the front or behind. You are falling down. To avoid injuries, contract the abdominal muscles and bring your torso, your body, upwards, lifting the head even more off the ground. Keep your chin towards your chest. Keep your legs in front of you. Keep your hands in a place that they can be used. Sometimes you may need to do a break fall. However, in most cases, because the sit back is protecting your own back, it is not needed to do a break fall. After you hit the ground, you can kick the chair towards the opponent, creating some sort of disturbance and a barrier towards him. How to continue from this point? Naturally as needed. You can get up, moving away. You can get up in place. You can get up while attacking, whatever is needed, according to the situation and the circumstances. When your balance is being disturbed and you feel that you are really falling backwards, you must contract the abdominal muscles and the hip flexors, meaning you are doing like a sit-up. This sends the chair towards the ground and your body upwards. After the chair hits the ground, naturally your body will continue to lie or to go down towards the ground. Be careful not to make any rolling type of action that will endanger your head. The impact itself with the ground has an effect of a whiplash, meaning your head will be sent towards the ground. So contract your neck muscles, bring your chin towards your chest, and avoid any bounce or any recoil of the head towards the ground. As usual, keep eye contact with the opponent. As soon as possible, of course, you can scan the area to see if there are more dangerous people who aim to harm you. Avoid and de-escalate. When it's possible, get up, talk to the person, move away, avoid the confrontation. If that person wanted to sit down, he's in the chair. Do your best to avoid the confrontation. If it is possible, excellent. If not, you will need to confront. As previously seen, we get up in the basic manner, keeping hands in a ready position, moving sideways, circling around the opponent, scanning and using the tactical maneuvers that we have done so many times. Dealing with an aggressive attacker at a distance. Here practically we notice the aggressive attacker and we respond with preemptive attacks. It is possible to get up and just kick, naturally depending on the distance. Here's an example that there is a kick to the opponent while two hands are still holding and supporting the body while the kick gets its maximum range. This is a regular kick forward. It can be directed to the head, the solar plexus, or the groin of the opponent. It can be directed towards the head, the solar plexus, or the groin of the opponent. The base leg and the two hands are practically 3 points to support the body. The center of gravity, the pelvis, the upper body all move towards the opponent, meaning enabling a strong kick. After the kick, continue with more counterattacks or move away from the danger zone. If needed, naturally you can also use the chair. As in the basic timeline, do not let the opponent grab a hold of you. Here's the example of an inside defense and an early counterattack. Counterattack can be towards the groin if you are still seated, towards the lower ribs, towards the head. Any reasonable vulnerable point is a good place to attack. After the first attack, the first counteraction, continue as needed with more counterattacks and move away from the danger zone. The defense that is being used here is appropriate to the angle from which the attacker is coming and the direction of his attack. Here, it is an inside defense with a palm. Parallel to the inside defense, you do a body defense. This dynamic defense practically takes your neck area out of the line of the advancing attacker, while moving upwards, getting up from the chair, and out of the whole channel of the attacker, you're delivering the series of appropriate counterattacks. Release from a choke from the front while seated. Here the example is the technique using one hand release and a simultaneous counterattack with the other hand. As in the standing position, one hand goes and strikes with the hook, meaning the plucking action on the wrist area as close as possible to the thumb of the opponent. Elbow goes backwards while the body turns. Simultaneously, you are striking with the other hand. The first strike can be to the groin, to the solar plexus, to the head, to the neck of the opponent. This is relatively an aggressive response, as one hand is a releasing or a defending hand, and the other one is in an attacking mode. Naturally, when more in a panic situation, one can do a two-hand release, two plucking hands. Depending on where the attacker is standing, between the legs or over one leg, that leg can attack with a kick to the groin. It can be a knee kick, a shin kick, or even a kick with the foot. Remember the principles of plucking, meaning the hook goes between the two hands, very close to the neck, and from there strikes outward towards the thumb or the wrist of the opponent. Simultaneously, to enhance this plucking action, this striking action with the hook, body needs to turn to send the elbow as much as backwards as possible. The other hand, the free hand, is striking forward. If the opponent is relatively far away, usually you can strike with a hit towards the neck or the chin. If it's closer, a strike to the groin may be most appropriate. Don't forget the body defense, meaning the contraction of the neck area. Tighten these muscles around the neck to make it difficult to the opponent to choke you. Against a choke from the side, the prevention. Like against a choke from the front, doing a hand defense and counterattack is an excellent solution if the attacker has been perceived relatively early. Suitable to the angle from which the attacker is coming and sending his hands from, use the body moving forward and a hand defense sending his hands backwards, meaning backwards to you. So hand defense and body defense while getting up forward away from the opponent With one leg you made a step, with the other one you can kick. Your body defense takes you out of the channel of the attack of the opponent. Your hand defense, the choppy outward motion, is deflecting the opponent's hands, preventing them from grabbing you. Counterattack as you see fit and continue to move away from the danger zone. Here the example is doing the minimum, meaning one kick and move away. If there's a necessity for more counterattacks, apply them. Release from a choke from the side in a seated position. The attacker already grabbed you. As in a choke standing, one should release and counterattack. So a plucking motion, a hook that is striking the area of the base of the thumb, is removing the attacker's hand off your throat. Simultaneously with the other hand, you are striking and also getting up as soon as you can. First counterattack naturally depends on the initial position of your hand, meaning the hand that is going to strike, the hand close to the opponent. First strike can be towards the groin or towards the lower ribs, or if the opponent is not so close, towards his chin and eyes. So plucking while simultaneously counterattacking. Get up as soon as you can and continue with more counterattacks. During the series of counterattacks, you are directing all your resources, meaning legs, hands, towards the opponent. The finishing mode should be moving away from the danger zone, scanning, looking, checking the area, and going to the next mission that may be self-evacuation, or defending another person, or equipping yourself with a tool that can be used for additional self-defense actions. Release from a choke from behind while in a seated position. As soon as you can, release yourself as fast as possible from the choke that has been applied on your neck, get up in a turn, and counterattack as soon as you can. The body defense, sort of protection, is taking the chin down. Contract your neck muscles to prevent from being choked so easily. Simultaneously, lift the elbows upwards. Two hooks should land below the opponent's thumbs. In a fast action, these hooks are scraping or plucking the opponent's thumbs. In order to meet the aggressor's thumbs, be sure that your pinkies are touching each other. Grabbing the base of the thumb, the big muscle under the thumb, is much less efficient. Do your best to avoid it. While plucking the opponent's thumbs, you position your legs appropriately and start standing and turning. Turn as fast as you can, release the opposite hand to the direction of the turning, and strike with it. Holding and pulling strongly the thumb of the opponent may inflict some sort of a leverage on his wrist. By the way, it is possible, of course, to use a wrist leverage in these cases. Align your body as soon as possible to the side of the opponent. From that angle, it is most efficient to strike. The aggressor is relatively limited, and you are able to strike efficiently without him managing to defend or to counterattack more. Reaching the side of the opponent and attacking from that direction prevents the attacker from continuing with further attacks. Finishing mode can be moving away from danger zone or any other appropriate one. Release from a choke from behind while applying a wrist lock on the opponent's hand. It may be because of certain type of limitations that you cannot get up so early or counterattack efficiently, you may use to choose a wrist lock after the release. We have taught this type of release in one of the practitioner levels. After plucking and removing the hands of the opponent off your neck, use the far hand to twist and bend the opponent's wrist and palm. This action takes the opponent off balance, inflicts some level of pain, and gives you the opportunity to get up and counterattack. This technique is also most appropriate in times and places that you cannot get up. The wrist leverage takes the opponent off balance and move him to the side. From that point and at that moment, you can counterattack the aggressor more efficiently. An efficient wrist lock, as you see here, will disturb the balance of the opponent, will create an opening for appropriate counterattacks, and eventually you can send the opponent to the ground. Finishing mode, as usual. Here we demonstrate moving away from a danger zone. The way of getting up from the chair is the way we practice, meaning get up while turning. So if you move to the left, your left foot and left knee are directed towards the direction of the movement. Release from a headlock from behind while in a seated position. The attacker managed to grab you from behind with a forearm choke. This type of headlock is, of course, highly dangerous. You need to prevent any pressure to your neck as soon as you can. Pulling the opponent's hands down, turning your chin towards your shoulder, turning your body, creating a bigger opening. All these are the basic principles that we have been using in the standing position, meaning in releasing from a headlock from behind in the standing position. Here, while seated, you should be pulling the hand of the opponent while turning and getting up. So parallel to the release, you're also getting up. Sort of simultaneous and integrated actions. The way of getting up is getting up while turning, pressing your body, your head, your shoulder also towards the opponent. This type of screw action, directed diagonally backwards, enables you to push the opponent, to push your neck upwards out of the grab, to pull his hands down so the forearm is not pressing your neck anymore, and then as your chin is tucked towards your shoulder, get the head out, freeing yourself from the grip. The first counterattack, as in the standing position, also you are already standing, will be a knee kick. However, if you are out of balance, if it is not possible to give a knee kick, release one hand from the grip of the opponent's hands and start hammering the opponent. Straight punches, regular hammers, any type of attack that would be appropriate is suitable. Pull the opponent's palms towards your sternum. This will create a large opening for you to take your head out. Your body turn brings you practically in front of the opponent. The attacker may be choking and pulling you, or choking or pressing you down. For us, it's more or less the same. We are applying the release as needed. If you are limited and you cannot get up, then of course you'll go into a finishing and fighting mode, striking, biting, whatever you can do in order to release yourself and get out from the grab. The chair is not something that really can be considered. It may be entangled between your legs, it may tilt and fall. The main thing is, of course, to be aware of what you're doing and not trip over it and fall down. Defending an attempt to throw. The attacker is trying to grab you and to throw you. It can be different types of throws or sweeps, meaning hip throw, head throw, use the throw while grabbing the clothing, grab and lift, or different sweeps. Prevention and avoidance. If it's possible, talk only. Move away from the opponent, do any type of hand defenses, circle around the opponent. You must not find yourself in the channel of his advance. Usually, in this type of soft solution, talking to the opponent is an integral part of the solution. Defending and counterattacking. Use the appropriate deflection or block of the opponent's hands and counterattack as soon as you can. You can use inside defenses or outside defenses. If both hands are busy, counterattack with the kick. If not, naturally it's possible to do a simultaneous counterattack or early counterattack with the hands. Another type of prevention, block the opponent's hand as you move out of the channel and counterattack. If this is possible and appropriate, naturally you can grab a hold of the opponent's arm, control the opponent while you're counterattacking him. Another way of prevention, this is at the medium range. Use both hands, both palms, to deflect the opponent's head, change his line of movement, deflect his advance, and move to the opposite direction. The appropriate counterattacks can be utilized. Here's an example with no counterattacks. Just deflect the opponent's advancing and move away from the danger zone. If the aggressor managed to grab a hold of you and now is in the process of advancing closer, body to body, in order to throw you, the most appropriate option will be to block his way, to stop him from getting close to you, and counterattack as soon as you can. All these grappling and throwing techniques, the opponent is trying to put his pelvis, his hip area, close to yours or touching yours, use his hips as a leverage, as a pivoting point in order to throw you. The principles of these throws as a shoulder throw, head throw, hip throw are clear. In order to avoid being thrown, the most appropriate action can be to keep distance between the hips, between the pelvises. Here the first example is with two palms. So this is relatively an earlier defense. Send two palms to block the opponent's pelvis from getting close to you. First counterattack can be with a knee kick, or with one hand while the other is keeping the pelvises at apart. While the opponent is pulling you, you should lower yourself a little bit. Retreat with the pelvis, retreat also with your feet. Keep the opponent away, push strongly with both palms against the opponent's pelvis. This action resembles the bench press, or sort of a push-up. You should keep your elbows relatively straight. This will create a structure that will make it very difficult for the opponent to get close to you. Continue as soon as you can with counterattacks, and the most appropriate ones are either with one hand as the other one is keeping the distance. Knee kicks towards the groin or towards the thigh of the opponent are more suitable. If the time is short, one can use the forearm stop, the forearm block. This is a simple block, sort of a 360 outside defense, meaning the forearm is blocking the opponent's attack. This attack is really his hips that are getting close to you. So you lower your shoulders, lower your torso, block with the forearm, keep your pelvis away from the opponent, and strike the opponent as soon as you can. A very good attack can be a palm strike with 3 fingers, meaning the palm and the fingers are in sort of a whip action, hitting the groin of the opponent. After the first attack or attacks to the groin, continue with more attacks towards other vulnerable points. Finishing mode, as usual, tactical decisions should be suitable to the event. Against an underhand stick attack, the attacker is striking with a vertical stick attack upwards. To avoid the impact with the stick, we're using, of course, the stabbing defense, where you are sending your forearm and hand to meet the stick in an acute angle. The body defense is moving diagonally forward, including removing the back leg out of the line of the upcoming stick. To enable an effective hand defense, one has to lower the shoulders and the chest to meet the attack below the knee level of the defender. In order for the stick to be deflected outward, one has to keep the chest in a parallel direction towards the attacker, meaning do not sink with your shoulder down. This will create a triangle that sends the stick outward. The other hand protects the head and from that level goes diagonally down to meet the upcoming attack. Usually you will grab the opponent's hand. Extremely important, the defense must meet the stick near the hands of the attacker, whether it's one hand or two hands attack. Be sure that your head is not in the line of the upcoming stick, so do not lean with your head towards the stick. The opposite, lean away from it. The components of the hand defense, which is very low, to be able to deflect the attack relatively early. The principle of the triangle, so the stick goes outward. The other hand, which protects the head and then goes to the control from above. The body defense, leaning forward, moving diagonally forward, and taking the back leg out of the line, while trapping the opponent's hand, counterattacking with the backhand. Continuing with more counterattacks, double control, meaning you grab also the stick, and the finishing mode, which can be disarming, more counterattacks as needed, and moving away from the danger zone. One can see all these elements of hand defense, body defense, control, counterattack, and disarm also in the dry drilling. Pay attention how the defender is moving out of the channel of attack. Pay attention that you are practically defending with the rear hand, meaning opposite leg to hand. In the example, advancing with the right and defending with the left. This is essential in order to create a deflection that goes outward and doesn't stay within the line of your body. Against an overhand stick attack, the attacker is coming from the side and tries to land a stick on your head. Start with a stabbing hand defense while turning towards the attacker and stepping diagonally forward to get out of the line and the channel of the attack. Practically you are bursting forward sideways after turning. Executing the hand defense and the body turn practically brings you in front of the attack. Like this you are able to deflect the attack while hiding your head under your upper arm. You are stepping a large step with the leg close to the opponent. The moment you turn and lift your leg, You've got a back leg to push strongly with, so you're able to advance and burst towards the opponent. You are turning your chest towards the opponent, and as soon as possible, the backhand is grabbing the opponent's attacking arms. The defending hand is now able to counterattack strongly and fast. As practically you are switching from defense and control to the counterattack, your back leg is continuing to advance and becoming the front leg, bringing you to the side or even behind the opponent. As you understand, this is practically a variation on the defense against a vertical stick attack downwards, the overhand stick attack, going to the dead side, going to the outside. A defense against a horizontal stick attack, the attacker is coming from the side, the stick is directed towards your chest, and your natural response starts from two hands down. This is a variation on the technique against a stick from the side, sort of a baseball swing, bursting forward with the shoulder towards the attacker. Here, because the attacker is coming from your side, you should be moving sideways as soon as you can to cut the distance and get close to the opponent while keeping the chest towards the attack. Keep one hand low and the other hand, the closer one, high. The low hand is practically directed downwards. The shoulder is relatively high. The other hand is protecting the head and the face. Elbow is low, palm is open. The two hands are creating a relatively large wall defending your upper body. Bursting towards the attacker is possible because you have a back leg, even at the moment that you start. Get as close as possible to the opponent, and with the backhand, trap the weapon or the attacking hands as soon as possible. The front hand becomes free, and this is the attacking hand. Counterattacks can be delivered with a closed hand, with the knees, with the headbutt, and also it is possible to trap with the front hand and attack with the backhand, the hand that was defending. You can see that the body defense is practically dangling backwards, meaning to the initial position. This creates a better absorption of the attack. It also gives you a bit more time to defend yourself. As was done previously, the disarming is executed while one hand is trapping the forearms of the opponent and the other one is grabbing the stick and pulling it to the other side of the head. Not sure it's possible to attack with the stick while disarming or after disarming. If it is needed, attack with the stick again. You can do it while holding the stick with two hands, sort of like a rifle, or with one or two hands at one end. This is appropriate attacks. The last option is at the long range. When you hold the stick with two hands, one at each end, this is suitable to attack at the closer range. Against an horizontal attack with a stick coming towards your chest, attackers from the side, and your natural response brings two hands up. Using both palms and forearms to create a large area for defense, you are absorbing, defending the stick attack and the movements of the attacker's hands. With the body defense, you are minimizing the distance to the opponent. Your body defense is diagonally backwards in comparison to the initial position. Crunch with your body, contract the abdominal muscles, lower your head, lower your shoulders and torso. Meet the attack with the area of the forearms with the fleshy part. This should be done in a slanted angle. Small circle with the forearms and the palms will create a better absorption of the attack. The first counterattack can be with the knee if the hands are still busy, or with a hammer strike sideways while the far hand is controlling the weapon. Also possible to control the hands of the opponent. Execute the appropriate counterattacks and then continue to the next mode. Practically, this is a variation on the two techniques which are defending a horizontal stick attack using both forearms, and the other technique is defending with both forearms against a horizontal stick thrust. Both techniques were presented in the graduate level 2 video. Defending against a knife attack from the rear. The attacker managed to execute a successful attack from behind. It can be a high stab or low stab, a straight one or a slash. The moment you feel the strike, you usually do not know whether there was or was no weapon in the hand of the attacker. Usually you just feel a strike. As soon as possible, one of the main options is move away from the danger zone. Moving diagonally forward while turning enables you to see what the attacker is doing, what is planning next, while removing your body from the dangerous area. This movement is efficient against most type of attacks and strikes. The synchronized motion of your body include turning the head to look, moving the hand to create the appropriate defense, turning the whole body, pivoting in order to put as many resources as possible towards the problem, moving the angle forward or even sideways in order to get out of the line and the channel of the attack. Usually, one knife attack does not create enough damage to neutralize you completely. In most cases, according to our experience, there are many options and many possibilities to do efficient actions and not to get the second stab, meaning don't get stabbed twice if you've got stabbed once. When at a distance, you can decide what to do next. It may be needed to do more defenses or attacks or counterattacks. For instance, if the attacker is coming from a distance, you can stop him with few kicks and disable him. If the distance is closer, you may need to do some hand defenses and counterattacks with the hands and the legs. Overall, this technique takes into consideration that the attacker does not attack once, but much more, and that's the real danger. That the attacker advances while he's attacking, and the more you are in the vicinity of the attacker, the more you get hurt. So the main idea in the solution is to move away from the danger zone while preparing oneself to do additional defenses, and if you reach at a longer distance and the attacker is now changing his direction coming towards you, you are ready to attack. The appropriate attacks in most cases are the strong kicks towards the solar plexus or the head of the opponent. Defending against high straight knife attack coming from the side directed towards your neck. Practically the attacker is coming from an angle that triggers an outside defense with the hands to prevent getting hurt. Your hand defense is outside defense number one, meaning with a strong torque of the forearm, the thumb is being directed outward. It is very sharp and early hand defense. Simultaneously, you're moving your head forward and turning the whole body, pivoting on the balls of the feet. The backhand, due to the pivoting action, is brought forward. With the low elbow and the forearm directed diagonally forward, you're supposed to be defending, sliding on the attacking arm if the attacker is doing a second or a third knife stab. The strong rotation, this torque on the balls of the feet, while shifting your weight diagonally forward, takes you completely out of the line and then the channel of the attack. The far hand that becomes the front hand is controlling well the attacker's hand, while the elbow is low, and the pressure with your forearm on the attacker's forearm prevents him from additional realistic attacks. The defending hand becomes free, it is now ready to counterattack very early and as devastating attacks as possible. Finishing mode can be pushing and moving away or disarming the opponent. We dealt with knife disarming extensively in a previous level.
Attacker is reaching from your right side, attacking with his right hand. The starting distance that you notice the situation is something between medium to short. Hand defense is with the forearm, chopping action. Bony part is hitting the area of the back of the hand wrist of the opponent. Simultaneously, you're doing a body defense, which is rotating and moving diagonally forward, getting out of the line and then the channel of the attack. You need to lower yourself, especially starting bending the front, the closed leg, and the back shoulder. Like this, you are able to continue with the far hand, now it's the left hand, and do an inside defense against the attacking hand. We need to take into consideration not only the first stab, against which we are doing the hand defense and the body defense, but also the repetitive attacks. This is really the job of the far hand that now becomes the front hand. So the left hand is supposed to be doing a defense against the subsequent attacks. To be efficient, it is very important to drop your left shoulder, which means lowering your elbow of the left hand. That enables a good inside defense with the forearm that will push, press, or deflect the attacking hand towards the outside. The hand defense should not take the attack downwards, but sideways. At the same time that the left hand is acting as a defensive mechanism or defensive tool, the right hand, which becomes now more or less a backhand, will be counter-attacking once or twice. Then continue with the finishing mode that can be pushing the attacking hand after double control and additional counterattacks with kicks, for example, moving away from the danger zone, or disarming the opponent. In order to disarm well, we suggest, of course, as usual, to move away from the opponent, to act more or less with straight arms that enables you to kick and then disarm more safely. The disarming process, as before, turning the knife to the outside, lowering the elbow of the attacker, bringing your elbow high, creating a strong leverage, and then inserting with your fingers into the palm of the opponent, scraping the knife away while directing it towards the outside and not towards yourself.
Defending against a straight and high knife stab towards the neck while bailing out and counterattacking. The idea here that you are a bit more surprised and could not defend while moving diagonally forward towards the opponent. Advancing towards the opponent was not possible. The best reaction, based on a natural response, would be an outside defense while moving the body forward away from the attacker. Body really moves almost forward. The far leg advances a little bit diagonally forward, more or less to the line where the closed leg is standing. The head and the torso is moving practically forward. Stepping with the far leg enables the closed leg to be free of weight and deliver strong counterattacks towards the knee, the lower ribs of the opponent. As usual, the sequence of actions here are hand defense, body defense, and a step done simultaneously. However, it is seen as if the hand moves first, then the body, then the step. Practically, they all move together. The appropriate hand defense, because of the leaning of the upper body, is outside defense with the pinky out, with the choppy motion of the forearm. To have an efficient hand defense, one should meet the attacking hand in the vicinity of the palm or the wrist. So catch the attack before the knife is too close to you, hitting the wrist or the palm of the opponent. Moving forward and bending the torso towards the floor enables you to take the body out of the area of the repeated knife attacks. Naturally, we assume that the attacker is delivering more than one attack. After the first initial counter-attack with a kick, continue with more attacks. Usually, keeping yourself from a distance, you're delivering side kicks and regular kicks. Defending a low straight knife attack while bailing out. As before, here too, the attacker is coming from the side and delivering a straight knife stab towards the ribs behind your forearm. The attack is relatively surprising, so you cannot do the second technique that was demonstrated here, meaning pivoting and defending the second attack with a backhand. Here we are practically bailing out, meaning moving the body as much as possible from the area of the attacking knife. The chopping hand defense is done with the bony part of the forearm, the pinky side. This hand defense should be executed rather far from the defender's body, meaning deflecting the knife attack, dealing with it as soon as possible and away from the body. At the same time, the targeted area is moving out of the line. Here the pelvis area and the lower ribs are the target. So you're arching forward and moving the pelvis forward. In a synchronized action, and as soon as possible, you're making a step forward, practically bringing the far leg aligned with the closed leg. The moment you land, your closed leg is already in the air in the direction of its target. The first counterattack can be towards the knee or the ribs of the opponent. Continue with more counterattacks and moving away from the danger zone or do any other mission that is needed. In both this technique and the previous one, you should make a step that will bring you to the furthest point away from the opponent, but still in a place that you are very much away from the channel of the attack, but still able to destroy the opponent's abilities. Here too, it is a synchronized action. You try to do everything at the same time, but the sequence and the way that the human body moves is always sort of a hand, body, and step. Practicing the defenses against knife attacks using all type of defenses, starting from eyes closed. Naturally, it's about controlling stress, it's about the decision making, it's about identification, it's about doing the right thing at the correct time and place. So the attacker is circling around you. He's activating you in different manners. It can be verbal, by noise, by voice, it can be by contact. Here the main examples are that the attacker is attacking more than once. The first attack is waking you up, and the second attack just followed. The second attack can be identical to the first one, or better be different. The first attack that wakes you up, that triggers you, can be a knife attack, or can be a strike, a push, a light kick, etc. You are with eyes closed. The moment there is the contact, open your eyes, gather the information. Practically, you gather information from the contact itself, from the initial attack. Make the correct decision and execute the correct technique. Practically, you are trying to do techniques by the book. As soon as possible, the best solution. Continue with more counterattacks, simulating scanning and moving away. Only simulating. Go back to your place and be ready for the next one. Don't waste too much time. The partner should be attacking from time to time different attacks. Attacks should not be too often. One should control the internal dialogue. The more quiet your mind, the better decision you can make. The less busy your mind is, the better solution you can come up with. Neutralizing a pistol threat to your ribs, going to the live side, wrapping your arm. The ingredients of the technique is hand defense, body defense, control, counterattack, disarm, and the finishing move. With the hand defense, you're deflecting the pistol so it will not be aimed at you. Continue with the hand defense, sliding along the arm of the opponent, going with your palm as a hook to trap his elbow. The body defense is getting close to the opponent while turning towards him. These two actions aim to foil the attempt of the attacker either to shoot at you or pull his hand and shoot at you. The counterattack is an elbow strike forward, usually aimed at the opponent's chin or throat. The body motion is sending your chest towards the opponent with your sternum directed towards his shoulder. The control technique is with a hook wrapped completely around the opponent's elbow, strong pressure of his forearm towards your chest, tucking and pressing your elbow to the rear area of your ribs, crunching your body so you're a bit bent over the opponent's arm. This puts a lot of limitation and weight on the opponent's hand, preventing him from moving it and reusing the gun. The step towards the opponent is of course with a closed leg, and you are landing by the side of the opponent, more or less aligned parallel with his front leg or his center of gravity. The motion of the hand defense is sort of a choppy action backwards while turning the palm and the forearm, so the palm is directed upwards, while sending it forward alongside the opponent's arm, trapping his elbow eventually. It is important to burst towards the attacker as soon as you can. Strike with the elbow. Remember, it's an elbow strike forward. After the elbow strike, pull the opponent before he falls backwards and give him a knee kick. You deliver the knee kick while pulling his shoulder. This is the optimum action. Then turn, look if the pistol is there. If it is there, disarm it. You should not be looking at the pistol for a long time. Disarming can be done without looking at the pistol. The disarming process is with your palm you are going to grab the slide of the pistol, the upper part of it. Your thumb should be in the area of the hammer. Grab the pistol strongly, turn it 90 degrees to its original position, and then push it away from the opponent's grip. The turning of the 90 degrees open the grip and reduces the pressure of the opponent's grip over the pistol. If it's difficult for you to reach the pistol as it is far behind you, slide with your chest along the opponent's arm. Do it without freeing the opponent's arm. Keep the pressure on it. After you disarm the opponent, you can strike again and move away from the danger zone. Here there are several options. Usually we recommend, in this way of holding the pistol, not to strike with the pistol. You may lose it. It is okay to strike with the elbow, with the knee, or with the other hand. When you move away from the danger zone, hide the weapon. Naturally, if it is needed, you can make the pistol operable. Practically what we do is we hit the bottom of the pistol, the area of the magazine, so we are sure that the magazine is not released or not loose, and then we cock the weapon to be sure that it is ready for action. Also, this action of tapping and racking is efficient in creating mental pressure on the enemies. However, remember, if you aim a gun at somebody, the surrounding may see you as a dangerous criminal or a terrorist, and people from the area may aim weapons towards you. In a dry drill, you can see the hand defense, sending backwards and then forward towards the opponent while turning the body, stepping towards the opponent's side and bringing the chest towards his shoulder, strong control over the opponent's arm with the hook over his elbow and your elbow tucked towards your ribs. The chest is going forward, body is crunched, the elbow strike is going forward. After the elbow strike, grabbing and pulling the shoulder, giving a knee kick, and then disarming. It is of course most important that you will do the dry drill, including the main ingredients, meaning the hand defense, the body defense, the control, and the first counterattack. The rest is less important to do dry drill with. Neutralizing a pistol threat from the side with a wrap going to the dead side. Practically this is a variation on the basic technique that you have seen previously. The hand defense, the body defense, the turn, the step, but now we are moving behind the opponent. The wrapping technique is putting your hand formed as a hook in the elbow crook, which means you're not locking the elbow like in the previous technique. Due to this, and because of the option and the opportunity to enlarge your body defense and get out of the line and the channel of the attack, the direction is to aim your sternum towards the shoulder blade of the opponent, meaning we are advancing with two steps. First with the leg close to the opponent and then the other one, coming more behind the opponent. First strike that is recommended is more of a hook towards the back of the head of the opponent. Follow with additional counterattacks and or go immediately to disarm the person from the weapon. After disarming, one should continue with counterattacks as needed, move away from the danger zone, use the gun, or just hide it and move away. The hand defense, meaning with the forearm bony part, is sending the weapon backwards and immediately pressure diverts and your arm is sliding alongside the opponent's arm, pressing it towards him. The hook is wrapped around the elbow crook, tightening and pressing the forearm and the elbow to your body. Your elbow of the defending hand is pressed strongly towards your ribs. Your body is crunched as if to wrap itself around the arm of the opponent. This whole family of techniques are practically hand defense with wrapping, body defense with a turn and moving towards the opponent and trying to move around the opponent, try to leave the channel, which is not possible in all the techniques. Counterattack as soon as possible without letting the opponent the chance to avoid the counterattack. The control should be very tight, and then as soon as possible to continue with counterattacks and disarm the opponent. Here the disarming is as before, the thumb goes to the area of the hammer, turn the gun and pull it out of the hand of the opponent. Neutralizing gun threat from the side, aim to the ribs, going to the dead side with double control. If you've got the sensation and the intuition that it will be difficult for you to control the opponent's arm, meaning he may retract it rapidly, this is an excellent variation where you are doing the hand defense, the body defense, and instead of counter-attacking, while you get close to the opponent, you grab his elbow and pull it towards you. Practically, your two hands are around the elbow of the opponent. Because of the stepping and the turning, your backhand is able to grab the opponent's elbow with a C-grip, pulling it towards you. So the C grip is coming behind the elbow. Pull the elbow towards your abdominal area, towards your ribs. Advance and circle around the opponent and kick with the leg that was closer to him. The advance towards the opponent is with 2 steps. First the one close to him and then the other one. The moment the far leg has landed partly behind or by the side of the opponent, the closed leg is already on the way to the strike, to the knee kick. After the appropriate counterattacks, disarm the opponent. If before disarming there's a need to strike, do it of course. Just pay attention that you're not jeopardizing the control or the ability to disarm. Neutralizing a pistol threat from the side to your ribs in front of the arm. The pistol is pushed to your ribs. It is relatively difficult to grab the wrist or the weapon in a C grip. Thus, you're grabbing in a reversed one, meaning the thumb is up, the fingers are down. So in this case, the hand defense is pushing the back of the hand of the opponent. Remember, the wrist must not be bent, pushing the hand holding the gun away from you and forward. In the dynamic defense, the body is moving backwards and towards the opponent. Practically, you move diagonally backwards, getting close to the opponent. The far hand is doing a similar motion, meaning coming to the side of the ribs, but then sliding with the palm close to the stomach area. It is crucial that the other hand, supporting the far hand, will not be facing the barrel, will not be in front of it. As you are pushing the gun forward, you bring both your elbows in front of your stomach, and the far hand grabs the pistol with the thumb from above and the fingers from below. The area of the hammer was brought in front of your center of body, more or less in front of your solar plexus. This is the first phase of the technique. In a fluid manner and with a fast motion, you turn your body, you pull with your left, the hand that grabs the back of the hand and the wrist area, and you push with the hand that is grabbing the gun, rotating the gun in the hand of the opponent. You are sending the slide below the forearm of the opponent. This action is disarming the opponent. In the same fluid action, you are kicking the opponent. The whole body turn is emphasized with a strong pelvis motion, the hip motion, hip rotation, and turning the back heel. In the end of the rotation, your knee is already aimed towards the groin of the opponent. So here too we have the hand defense, the body defense, the control, the counterattack, and the disarm. Finishing mode, as needed, more counterattacks, move away from the danger zone, hiding the weapon or using it. In the hand defense, pay attention to the following checkpoint. Your index finger and thumb should be on the wrist of the opponent. If your palm grabbed the opponent's forearm, this is a devastating mistake. It can cause the pistol to be aimed at you while you're doing the deflection. In case that it is difficult to rotate the pistol in the opponent's hand, your body twist may be delayed or even stopped completely. Here the time is not to stop, meaning to continue with the knee kicks and then to disarm the opponent. Defending the pistol threat aimed to your ribs in front of your arm, moving to the live side. As in the previous technique, your hand defense is pushing the gun away from you and forward. Your body defense is moving diagonally backwards, getting close to the opponent. The other hand is almost doing a parallel, a mirror image to the defending hand, but coming very close to your body, palm towards the stomach, and grabbing the gun itself. Your both elbows should be forward, in front of your ribs. As you start pivoting the gun, rotating it in the opponent's hand, you should be delivering counterattacks. If you manage to go deep, diagonally backwards, your far knee will be able to kick to the groin of the opponent. If you didn't leave the channel so much, and you're relatively in front of the opponent, your closed leg can deliver a knee kick. This is more appropriate in this case. The disarming section is composed of 2 actions. One, the rotation, bringing the pistol to about 90 degrees to initial position inside the opponent's hand, and then pulling it away from him. So you open the grip by the rotation, and then you pull the gun away. When you turn the gun, in this technique, the index finger stays inside the trigger guard. In the previous technique, it was taken away just by the rotation itself. In any case, always rotate and pull. In the previous technique and in this one. Neutralizing a pistol threat from behind, moving towards the live side of the opponent. When you look and you understand the level of danger and the problem, start with the hand defense, deflecting the pistol sideways. Body defense is a turning
so you're already out of the line of fire. Then sending your arm forward, you are sliding on the arm of the opponent, with the hook trapping his elbow. Advance rapidly, bursting towards the opponent. Your sternum is in the direction of his shoulder. Deliver a horizontal elbow strike forward, remember, not inward, forward, to minimize the ability of the opponent to avoid it, just by merely retreating a bit backwards. Continue with trapping his shoulder and giving a knee kick. Turn, look if the gun is there, then disarm it. Take the gun from the opponent's hand by first grabbing it. Your thumb should be in the area of the hammer. Turn the gun and then push it away from the opponent's hand. All this time, your arm, which is wrapped around the opponent's arm, is pressing it very strongly towards your chest. Your elbow is strongly pressed against your own ribs. Your body is crunched, wrapped around the opponent's arm. You apply much weight on the opponent's arm, minimizing his ability to move it. Bring your advancing foot parallel to the center of the body of the opponent or parallel to his front foot. Because there is a chance that the opponent will pull the gun, will pull the hand, we would like to prevent it. Taking this into consideration, you're deflecting the gun hand and you're trying to go forward with your hand, aiming with the hook to go to his elbow. At the same time, your whole body is moving to where the opponent may go, meaning forward for you, backwards for him. So here too we see all the ingredients of the hand defense, the body defense, the control, the counterattack, the disarm, and actually the finishing mode. If you need the gun, use it. In most cases, a civilian will be able to move away from the danger zone without exposing himself to a danger by aiming a gun to somebody. Defending against a pistol threat from behind, going to dead side. You looked over your shoulder, naturally you turned a bit, and you saw the danger. Start with the hand defense, the body defense, get close to the opponent, wrap your hand around the opponent's arm, follow with another step, and counterattack. Practically, this is a variation on the technique from the side. You're trying to reach behind the opponent. Your hand defense is aimed to wrap itself, especially with the hook, around the aggressor's elbow, pulling and pressing his forearm towards your chest and ribs, with two steps reaching by the side or behind the opponent, aiming your sternum towards his shoulder blade. The first counterattack should be with the hook, because we are not able to lock the opponent's elbow, like in the technique going to the live side. It's not recommended so much to strike with a straight strike. If the opponent is approximately at your height or a bit taller, you will not be able to deliver an elbow. So the most appropriate attack will be with the hand. After the hand defense, body defense, the control, continue with more counterattacks as needed and disarm the opponent, finishing mode, moving away from danger zone, or using the pistol. Visualizing a pistol threat from behind, going to dead side using double control. Like in the technique from the side, you felt that you do not have a good control, or you may have a problem with the counterattacks. The appropriate solution will be the double control. So the hand defense, the body defense, and then the far hand is able with a C grip from behind the elbow to trap it, pull it towards you, and then after the two steps, while the second leg, the far leg, just landed, the closed leg start delivering knee kicks. Remember here too, your aim is to move behind the opponent's body. If the first knee kick is not able to reach the groin, no problem at all. Kick the thigh, kick the lower ribs, kick the solar plexus. In any case, the first kick will change the body posture of the opponent, and then you'll be able to deliver appropriate knee kicks to different vulnerable points. Neutralizing a pistol threat to the head. Here, because the pistol is aimed behind your ear and not towards the temple, the most appropriate technique will be moving your head towards the opponent. Practically, we are using a similar technique like the solution dealing with a threat against a pistol to the rear or a pistol threat to the side behind your arm. Hand defense and body defense. While you start raising your arm, your head can already turn, and this dynamic defense is bringing it
very rapidly behind the pistol. With the hook more or less in the area of the opponent's elbow, you're pulling the gun hand sideways and then down towards your chest level. The body defense takes you to the dead side of the opponent, to the blind side, and from there you are counterattacking. Here too, your sternum is aimed more or less towards the shoulder blade of the opponent, like in the corresponding technique against a pistol threat from behind or from the side. The main issue here, of course, in this variation, that you are getting used to dealing with threats at different levels and heights, directions, and angles. Because the pistol is relatively far from your hand, when you bring your hand upwards, your head, meaning the target, is doing the dynamic defense and turning and moving very close to the opponent. So the opponent's arm will not land on your shoulder but will go down. You have to move it sideways while you turn your body and then pull it down towards your chest level. The disarming process, the body motion, the finishing mode is practically identical to what we have just been doing against a pistol threat from behind or side. Against a pistol threat to the head, behind the ear, moving towards the live side. Because the pistol is far behind you, although it's from the side, the whole idea is that you cannot do a variation to the basic technique from the front, meaning with a C-grip and inward deflection. You are doing a pivoting, getting close to the opponent, and doing the technique of wrapping, which is similar to those against a pistol from behind. The body turn brings you in front of the opponent, and here you continue with taking the opponent's arm down, delivering an elbow strike, grabbing the opponent's shoulder, giving a knee kick, and continuing with looking, see if the gun is there, disarm the opponent, and then move away from the danger zone. Remember, if it is difficult to reach the gun in order to disarm it, you have to slide your chest along the opponent's forearm without letting it be free. After disarming, continue with the finishing mode. Dealing with continuing attacker. Practically, the attacker, after his first attack, probably also after one or two counterattacks of yours, managed to continue. The principle here is responding to the opponent's response. Here you start with the defense, continue with the counterattack, and then you have to defend yourself again. So, defend, attack, defend. This is the principle here. We should train on different situations. Start training slowly and pick up the speed. Naturally, the attacks can be with a weapon and then with the leg or the hand, with the hand or the leg and then a weapon, or with the weapon and then a weapon. The moment we are defending and counterattacking, we should be ready to the opponent's response. If the opponent is responding with another attack, we will need to deal with it. If the opponent is responding by falling to the ground, by moving away, by continuing in any other direction, for instance, to grab a weapon, we should be ready for it and we should be responding. Practically changing our actions according to opponent's reaction. This is the warrior level. Correct decision making. Here we show a training method where you have to identify if the attack can reach you or not. So the attacker is circling around you, attacking attacks at the wrong distance that cannot reach you, and then suddenly advances enough or moves in a way that he can reach you with the attack. You should respond to the attack that can reach you and do not respond to the attack that cannot reach you. Attacker can do different attacks from different directions, mix kicks and punches, strikes and chokes and grabs coming from the sides, and of course from behind. It is just the immediate response to the grab that you are being grabbed. Start doing this training at low speed and slowly increase the speed. The dummy strikes and kicks should not be from too far away. However, they should not be too close so they will not activate you wrongly. With the time you'll get better with identification of problems and decision making. Responding to the opponent's response. We have a set of training methods and drills to better our ability to respond to opponent's response. Meaning, while there is the physical confrontation, whether it's a self-defense type of situation deteriorating into a fight, or just a fight, combat,
Changing actions because the opponent reacted is something essential and very important to do. Here in this example, the first level is that the opponent is moving in different directions. Opponent starts by moving sideways or backwards. The moment you see the performer, meaning you, starts with a kick. Respond to the opponent's action by diverting your kick, constantly aiming it towards the opponent, changing distance with sliding, or when it's not possible, make a step and follow with a kick with the other with the same leg. The drill continues, but now the opponent can also close the distance, meaning in this stage, you can kick earlier at a shorter range, and of course, use your hand because the opponent closed the range and now is at medium range, suitable for a hand strike. Responding to the opponent's response, opponent now can move sideways, forward, in any angle, and of course also backwards like before. One should change the actions responding to the opponent's action. Overcoming a groggy and disorientation situation caused by an attack. The defender was hit, pain, concussion, and this results in the inability to breathe, to function. The defender's tendency is to stay standing and fight. However, this may be a huge problem, as he may be vulnerable to the attacks from the opponent. In many cases, a very good solution will be to move away from the opponent. And sometimes the best will be to go to the ground, naturally in the case that there are no other opponents here. In this solution, you fall sideways, softly to the ground, no need to break fall. You fall rather close to where you stand. Your legs are aimed towards the opponent, and you should counterattack as soon as possible. Taking the initiative is improving your mental state and also improving your position. Naturally, being on the ground, it's also a disadvantage. But when this is the best solution, it is simply the best solution. Simulations, variations, and different drills involving a car. The defender is inside the car, and we are bringing different options of common attacks, appropriate defenses, solutions, and finishing modes. In case of a road rage situation, you may choose to stay in the car, use the car, move the car, and get away from the danger zone. However, you may also choose to get out of the car and deal with a problem which is at the outside. Here's an example of an attacker with his car blocking your way, getting out and attacking you. The essence of what we would like to teach here is how to get out quickly from the car. The moment it is time to get out of the car, the process is relatively short and simple. With one hand you open the belt buckle, and with the other hand you separate between yourself and the safety belt. Opening the buckle of the belt should be done by sliding on the belt itself, either with the thumb or with the fingers, and pushing the button either with the fingers or the thumb. If the thumb is sliding, you push the button with the fingers. If the fingers are sliding, push the button with the thumb. The other hand slides between the belt and your chest and remove the belt away from your body. Then the hand close to the door pulls the handle, and with the elbow you push the door. Push the door also with your closed leg. Then turn towards the open door. Two hands are ready to stop the door from bouncing towards you. Get the leg out and push with the back leg. Get out of the car with the body tilted forward. Again, in a road rage situation, one may be attacked from the outside. Here the example is a choke. The attacker grabbed your neck, your life is in danger. Remove the attacking hand, remove the choking hand like a choke from the side, the same way, with the hook hitting the base of the thumb and pulling the palm away. At the same time, the closed hand is striking. If it's possible, strike the neck or the head, or with the alternative of pushing the eyes. After the initial plucking, removing the hand and the counterattack, continue with more counterattacks and then move to the finishing mode. If you have to, get out of the car. If not, of course, move with the car away from there.
Attacker from the outside is trying to hit you. If it is possible for you, just lean away and drive away. If not, turn towards the opponent, lean backwards, defend the strikes, and counterattack as soon as you can. Counterattacks can be towards the eyes of the opponent, towards his neck, towards his solar plexus. Of course, there is a great difficulty to generate much power and much impact with the attack. The finishing mode may be moving away, meaning driving away, or getting out of the car, all according to the circumstances and situation. Escaping a choke from the side within the car. The attacker grabbed and you remove the front hand, the one on your neck, as soon as you can. As usual, like in a choke from the side, the plucking action, the hook that strikes the base of the thumb and pulling it away from you, diagonally downwards. Simultaneously, the closed hand starts striking. Strike any possible vulnerable point and then turn yourself towards the attacker and continue with more counterattacks. Finishing mode can be one of two options. One, if you feel that this situation is close to hopeless, maybe you should think about leaving the car. If not, push the attacker, shove him outside the car. Remember, efficient counterattacks will destroy the opponent's ability to attack you and to endanger your life. With inside the car, the attack is from the back seat. Here's an example that the attacker decided to choke you. In all the techniques until now, while you are inside the car, it is obvious that the car should be safe for you, meaning stopping the car as soon as possible, hitting the brakes, and driving correctly. When the attacker grabbed your neck, you should remove his palms quickly away from your throat. As usually, plucking action, while the pinkies are together, the hooks are hitting and scraping the opponent's thumbs off your neck, thus freeing yourself from the choke. It is almost impossible to attack backwards. So the solution is create a leverage, this type of wrist lock that we have learned before. This causes loss of balance and sending the opponent to the side. Here is vulnerable, meaning between the seats of the chairs, the driver chairs and the passenger chair, you can hit the opponent. Hitting as needed and then continue. Either you get out of the car or continue climbing between the seats, attacking the attacker as needed. If you leave the car, it also refers to previous exercises, you may think about taking the car keys with you. Dealing with a knife threat with inside the car. Robbery with inside a car is rather common. It can be from a passenger or it can be just somebody penetrated your car, entered the car after opening the door and while taking a seat by your side is trying to rob you. The basic technique is a hand defense with a C-grip, pushing the knife away from you, sort of an inside defense. With the backhand, you should be attacking. If something like this is being done while driving, the moment you hit the brake, the opponent continues forward towards the windshield. His hand and the knife do the same. So it's easier now, if you hit the brake, to grab and deflect the knife away from your throat. After the counterattacks, continue with disarming, meaning bending the opponent's wrist, then releasing the pressure, penetrating, scraping the knife from his palm, and then the finishing mode. Either shoving the opponent away from the car or getting out of the car by yourself. Better take the keys with you. In this fighting drill, we see one person is attacking, the other one is defending and counter-attacking, all in slow motion. Fighting drills, the slow fighting at a very close range, the infight. In this training drill, in this game, practically both are doing slow fighting. One is doing attacks and counterattacks, defenses, body movements, all in order to foil the opponent's actions and simulate strong counterattacks and attacks that in reality would prevent the attacker, would prevent the enemy
from continuing. We can see a series of attacks, specific tactics and techniques in order to prevent the opponent from striking you or kicking you or attacking you at close range. One has to deal sometimes with elbow strikes, with knees, with attacks at a very close range, which means there is a need to control the limbs of the opponent to prevent attacks and continuous attacks. Counterattack, fight, attack, and eliminate the danger as soon as possible. Slow fighting drill, including attacks, counterattacks, defenses, some throwing, sweeping techniques. In slow fighting, one learns how to identify, decide, and execute different types of techniques. Many of the techniques are responses to opponents' actions. Use all your resources, all type of attacks and counters, all type of defenses that you can use that are applicable in each and every situation, practically utilizing different types of techniques, tactics, all is supported by the mental capabilities and the physical abilities. Light fighting and slow fighting with protective gear. Here we can see the two opponents challenging each other with attacks, defenses, counters, tactics, while they have protection to the different parts of the body, whether these are targets or striking limbs. In this fight, one should not use very heavy impact, should not attack the partner to cause damage. This is sort of a drill, naturally a fighting game, where you are acquiring experience while applying all material that you have been learning. A bit faster drill, where both are executing light fighting, medium speed, attacking, defending, moving. From time to time, the participants are simulating, checking, scanning to see if there are any other opponents in the area. Practice makes perfect. The more you train in these drills, the better you are becoming. Naturally, this is only one drill, one phase of training and preparing fighters to deal with violent confrontation of the nature of a fight. Four against one drills. Another type of fighting games, and here four people are attacking one. We can do this game, these fighting drills, at different levels of difficulty and danger. For instance, in the first drill you can see here one kick shield that you can punch or kick to, two knives in the hands of two opponents, and the last partner holds a stick, simulating a stick-wielding opponent. The defender in the middle is going to make a round for about 3 minutes. That's a standard for us. Attackers, the regular thing is you attack 2 attacks and then pause for 2 seconds. The kick shield is getting closer to our fighter in order to reach and touch. Fighter should be moving correctly, attacking, counter-attacking, keeping the distance, maintaining peripheral vision that is spread out to get as much as stimulus as possible, much as data as possible from the environment. Fighting and self-defense in urban environment. We also call it CQB, close quarter battle. Here, for Krav Maga, the meaning is you're fighting in confined areas, near walls, near corners, staircases, entering or leaving a room, corridors, and more. Violent confrontation near a wall, one can use the wall as a surface in which to hit the opponent's head on. During the confrontation, move diagonally forward, turn and push the opponent's head into the wall. Strong strike to the wall
can easily cause a knockout to a person. Here, the wall is being used as a shield and a barrier to other opponents, meaning while leaning on the wall or being close to the wall, other people cannot get close to you, and if there is an opponent in front of you, you can push him away, keep him away with kicks and attacks, and at the appropriate time, move away from the danger zone, not to be trapped there too long. While and if you are leaning on a wall, please be sure that you are not hitting your head to the wall while trying to remove yourself from an opponent's range. During time of need, the defender can move towards the corner. Here you are practically protected from 270 degrees. In this place you can keep the enemy, the attacker or attackers away from you using your legs. Be careful not to hit your parts, your head or bones into the wall, and when the appropriate moment happens, you can defend, counterattack and naturally move away from a danger zone. The self-defense section, we are dealing with being pushed to the wall. An attacker may try to slam you to the wall in order to create damage to you. Here's an example of a light break fall on the wall and continuing immediately with attacks to eliminate the danger. The hand that is far away from the wall may hit the wall with the palm to do light absorbing, and the hand close to the wall will break fall with the forearm. Practically, this break fall is a soft one. After first section of the break fall, one should continue by locating himself correctly and counterattack. Simulating different situations of self-defense. It is important that in a CQB environment, you will train in applying the different Krav Maga techniques, the different self-defense techniques, near the wall, near a corner, and also important to practice while you are entering or leaving a room. Here's an example of neutralizing a pistol threat while you are leaving a room. Naturally, the attacker may be a bit closer or a bit more further away from the door opening. When you leave the room, the gun may appear at different angles and different ranges. If you suspect that a certain area is dangerous, naturally try to foresee any upcoming situation, avoid or deter it as soon as possible. Different techniques to stretch the shoulder areas from different directions. Stretching, of course, different muscles. Sit down, send your hands behind your back, try to touch your thumbs one to the other. Then move forward with your body, with your pelvis, until you feel that your shoulders are being stretched. Now bend your elbows. This will create much of a stronger stretch. You can do PNF by contracting the shoulders, pressing the hands to the ground, and then relaxing and continuing to stretch. Every few seconds, try to advance a bit more with the pelvis. Stretching the shoulder in a forward motion. Bend one knee, the same side, put the back of the hand on your waist, insert the elbow inward, and press it lightly against the knee. Then with the other hand, grab your shin and climb up the knee area. We assume here that one is not so flexible. At this point, pull your knee inward and create pressure and torque and leverage on the upper arm and on the shoulder. One can do the same thing with two hands. When two back of the hands are on the waist, both knees are bent, and the knees are trying to close the elbows, so there's a stretch on both shoulders. We didn't show this technique here. Stretching the back side of the shoulder and the muscles around that area. Lie down, put one arm under your neck and upper chest area, put the other arm stretched forward. You bend and bring up parallel to the ground the knee of the side that you are stretching. So if you stretch the right shoulder,
and the right arm is under the chest, the right knee will come in the direction of the shoulder. Try to sink down with your chest. Every time you exhale, relax and sink. Naturally, one should do the technique also to the other direction. To stretch the front side of the shoulder plus the chest, stand on your knees and hands. Send one hand to the side, just a bit above the shoulder level. Turn towards the ceiling and sink down with the shoulder. You will feel a stretch. It will be focused on the upper chest if your palm is higher, or only on the shoulder when the palm is a bit low. A similar drill to stretch the shoulder, but more in a relaxed manner. Lie on your stomach, send one arm to the side. Turn the body to the opposite direction, climb up with your knees. Then bring the upper leg up, put the heel in front of the ankle of the base leg, of the low leg, and press that knee upwards using your upper hand. This creates a stronger torque to the spine and the whole body. And like this is stretching the lower hand.
Stretching while using the PNF, the contract, relax and stretch, in pulses. Stand on one knee, send the other leg straight forward, toes up, straighten your back, then from the joints of the hips, bend upwards and forwards and down to stretch mainly the hamstrings, the calf muscles and the back, all of the side of the leg that you are stretching. Every time you exhale, relax more and bend more forward and downwards. Try to pull the toes to you to stretch better the calf muscles as well as the hamstrings. Forward lunge while the knee is on the ground. Keep your upper body straight. Send the pelvis downwards and forward towards the front heel. You should feel a strong stretch in the area of the hip flexor, the front of the hip of the stretched leg, which is the rear leg. This exercise is usually stretching also the muscles in the groin area. Here too, use the PNF, contract, relax and stretch. Do it several times. Stretching the glutes, the butt area. Bend your knees while they are more or less in front of you, in a shape of a V. One foot is sent backwards and the other bring the heel to the front knee. Straighten your back, lean forward and downwards towards the front thigh. Then push and pull yourself horizontally so the head and chest will go to the direction of the front heel and the other knee. You can do PNF of contracting the whole area of the buttocks, abdominal and back. Relax and continue to stretch. Do it several times. A split. According to your capabilities and limberness, open one leg forward and send the other one backwards. Your torso, the upper body, should be as straight as possible. Send the pelvis downwards. You're stretching mainly the hip flexor of the back leg and all the back side of the front leg, meaning front leg, hamstrings and calf muscles. Groin muscles are also being stretched. It is advisable to put some time with the PNF.
Forward split while stretching the quadriceps with grabbing and pulling the back leg. You can start with a forward lunge. The back knee is on the ground. Grab the back foot with the front hand. It's important not to pull the back foot to the outside. This will create pressure on the knee and can cause you damage. Slide the front leg forward, the back leg backwards, creating a split while pulling the back foot towards your spine. Go to your knees and to your forearms. Spread your knees apart, sink with your pelvis down.
You can assist the opening of the legs by lifting and pressing your knees to the sides with the corresponding hands. In order to create a stronger opening, you can advance a bit with your pelvis and body, enlarge the distance between the legs, between the knees, and then send your body backwards. This is stretching the groin area. To work on the hip joint, you can now lift your foot so the shin will come to the vertical position, perpendicular to the ground, and then put it down. So up and down a few times with each leg.
Imi's dream was that every man, woman, and child will be able to defend themselves. That's why he created Krav Maga. 20 years after I started with him, I was in the right place and time to start spreading the system. For me, it was a mission, naturally. I felt that I love it, I'm good in it, and naturally I can support my family using it, doing it. Now, the Krav Maga, 20 years after that, is quite spread. The organization is big. We have dozens of countries. And it is important to keep pure the system, the values, the integrity. You guys are gaining the powers, you're gaining the knowledge. You have to use it for the good. You have to transfer it to others. When you do that, it should stay with the same lines of assisting people, giving them capabilities to defend themselves, to protect others, to defend our own country even sometimes. With the powers that you are gaining, with the knowledge that you are acquiring, comes also the responsibility. You must be responsible for your thoughts and for your actions. And if you are teaching Krav Maga, naturally, except of transferring this knowledge of us to the students, the fighting capabilities, the self-defense, the protection, you should also transfer the values. Imi is not with us anymore. Still, we are going in this way. We now will not be able to reach you and teach you and work with you. Still, you will need to continue with the same guidelines, with the same values, and you should transfer these values to whoever you are in contact with, especially your students. All the best.